Hello and welcome to another pre-Chiro podcast connection with a chiropractic student out at Life University, Joe Trovato. Joe, can you kind of just introduce yourself and give our viewers and listeners an opportunity to kind of get an idea of where you were at before you went to chiropractic school or before you decided you want to become a chiropractor? What were your interests? What were you into? What were you up to? And where was your focus at? And then where was that pivot point that made you want to become a chiropractor?
Absolutely. So, like you said, my name's Joe Trovato. I'm currently an 11th quarter student at Life University. And before coming to chiropractic school, I went to undergrad for biology and I got to play lacrosse while I was an undergrad. And I always knew that I was going to do like some sort of medical route, something to help people because that's always been my passion. But during undergrad, while I was playing lacrosse, I actually broke my collarbone. And I was seeing a chiropractor the entire time throughout my career playing sports. But after I got through the surgery of getting a plate in my collarbone to kind of heal it and make sure it fused in the proper direction or proper alignment, I was in the weight room one day and I was doing a front squat. And while I was at the bottom of my squat, the bar hit the screw that's right in my collarbone and it made me jump. And looking back at it now, I think I just inflamed the sets and I couldn't get up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't move. And I contacted my chiropractor right away. He got me in, he saw me, he adjusted me. And like I was one of those people back then, I didn't understand it. I wanted that instant gratification. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to be able to walk miraculously again after, one adjustment. And he gave me the spiel. He told me that my body needed time. He told me that the adjustment wasn't going to fix it. My body was going to heal itself, and the adjustment was just an impulse to help the body heal, which was a little over my head at that point. But the very next day, when I was sitting in class, still in pain, still couldn't really walk, in class, I felt my spine start to decompress and start to release that injury. And when I got up, I could walk again. And it was one of those solidifying moments where I was like, yes, like this is what I want to do. So I started looking into different schools. And when I came and visited Life University, it was just one of those moments where I was like, yes, like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like this has got the energy where I want to continue on this career.
And timing is everything. You said you weren't able to fully hear it back then.
Hmm.
If you were talking to a high school student who's brand new to chiropractic, or even that college lacrosse player, can you kind of just bring it down to their level, maybe simplify it a little bit? You did a great job just now of kind of bringing some of the tenets out, but um, I guess I'm asking you to look back at that lacrosse player that you were,
Hmm.
and maybe you can communicate it in a way that relates it to a lacrosse player in college. I think that might be an interesting analogy, or just maybe speak to how being a lacrosse player helped mold you into a great candidate to become a chiropractor.
I feel like any athlete going into chiropractic school is going to be a great chiropractor because this is an athletic profession. Like you need to be able to move your body in the way that it needs to move to be able to help the people that are on your table. But looking at a way to communicate it to a lacrosse player, an athlete, someone like that, I feel like you just have to relate it to them getting to the proficiency that they're at their school. Like it took time, it took practice, it took constantly being on the field, constantly going through drills. Like it's not something that happens overnight.
Mhm.
Just kind of like how their bodies are getting beat up that entire time. Like they're putting stress in their body. They're putting their bodies into like traumatic experiences, getting banged around. And that's just not a one-time occurrence. So just like an adjustment, it's not going to be like a one-time end-all be-all to fix your pain, fix your issues, improve function. It's going to be a process that's going to take some time to kind of unwind all the things that have accumulated throughout their careers.
And just keying in on your pre-Chiro experience, where were you at when you decided you wanted to become a chiropractor in your undergrad sort of process? And then what did you do to prepare for chiropractic school, and why did you choose Life University?
Like I said, I always wanted to do like a medical route, something to help people. So I was looking at MDs, I was looking at DOs, those professions, and I just didn't like feel the connection with them. And I was talking to my chiropractor, and I was talking to one of my teachers actually who sat down and helped me like do some research, which was amazing. Having a mentor to kind of like sit down and like help you sort through the kind of like the muddiness of what you want to do when you grow up. It's a real help. Yeah, that was kind of like I decided to do chiropractic, and then I had that like miracle adjustment that kind of solidified that that desire for me. And I chose life because, like I said, it's just the energy on campus. I came from a smaller school, like a little D3 school right outside the city of Philadelphia, and stepping foot on campus, it's an of campus of life. It's undergrad and graduate, so it's a big campus feeling. It's got a little bit more energy going through it, and then all the history with Dr. Sid Williams. It's scattered throughout campus. There's quotes on the walls. There's a giant statue of his hands. There's the monument for the jailbirds who all went to jail for chiropractic. It's just a magical place on campus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was one of the new people that came in to see me yesterday in my practice. Is kind of disenchanted. She's in a post-bac program. She was planning to go to physical therapy school, but she's kind of just over school at this point. She's burnt out. She's spending money she feels like she doesn't have to spend because she's a dance instructor, and that's her main source of income right now. And she doesn't come from a lot of money. So she was just like, I was like, why haven't you even thought of chiropractic? And she's like, I did think of chiropractic, but the chiropractor I saw was kind of a jerk. He didn't make it attractive at all. And within about 15, 20 minutes of talking to her, she was like, oh, well, it looks like I'm about to drop out of this post-bac program and consider going to chiropractic school. Contact my local chiropractic school tomorrow. So I'm like, if people knew what we knew, they would kind of be more interested. And I'm just curious if we can keep keying in on the pre-chiro population before we get into your chiropractic student journey and everything about Life University. What do you think, being an 11th quarter student now, you're kind of at this place where it's like, how can I give back? How can I leave a legacy? How can I make it better for this next generation that comes after me? What do you think about the pre-chiro students and what they can maybe do to see how chiropractic is different from physical therapy and also just be more attracted to this path? I'm curious, just asking you to reflect on that.
I feel like for pre-chiro students, the hardest part is finding a chiropractor who's able to communicate like the beauty of our profession, like what we truly do. Because there is kind of a divide between the two, two sides of chiropractic, the mechanistic and the vitalistic people, that is what it is. Both parties help people tremendously. It's just the views that they have when it comes to profession. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to find someone who's able to communicate. And that's something that we have to do in school, is learn how to communicate the value of it to people who don't truly understand what's going on, to someone who's never gotten adjusted before, to people who are looking to go into school. And to see the difference between chiropractic and, like you said, physical therapy, I think you just need to get in and you need to shadow offices, just kind of spend the day with a doctor, follow them around, ask them questions, and see the magic that happens in the offices.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, just some preliminary discussions with you. You had mentioned to me that you really have spent a lot of time going out to offices, shadowing docs, getting immersed as much as you can in what's going on outside of school by professional chiropractors. Can you talk about, you need to set that to do not disturb if possible. We can edit this part out. It's all good.
Okay.
Just, I meant to tell you to set it to do not disturb. It's all good. Let me take a glass of water. We good?
Yep. Good. Sorry about that.
Actually, before we get into that, can you just talk about what you just mentioned, which was Sid Williams scattered throughout the campus at Life University, the jailbirds? Like, who are you talking about, or what were they jailed for? And maybe a little bit more of the history of Life University, because you said it has a little more energy than your undergrad. I'm guessing it has a lot more energy than your undergrad, just given this short amount of time I've spent on Life's campus.
I mean, there was a period of time back in the history where chiropractic was kind of demonized, and it was seen, if you practice chiropractic, that you were practicing medicine without a license. So if you were caught, you were jailed. And there was one Dr. Herbert Reaver, who was famous and got consistently jailed for practicing chiropractic or practicing medicine without a license. And he was proud of it. He kept practicing no matter what and kept going back to jail. And he would come back to practice and continue to help people heal. And there's a monument on campus that's the size of a jail cell, with every single name of anybody who's been jailed, with a little flame behind it for it's called the Eternal Flame, to kind of like to symbolize the eternal flame that chiropractic will have and will always be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's, I guess, now up to us to really just represent and help build context and drive our passion into our community. So, um, talk about just the community at Life University, the diversity of pathways that are available to students. If you can do a kind of as much of a framing as you can of what's available to students once they get to Life.
hmm At Life, there's a bunch of people from all over the states, all over the world. We got a lot of people from Puerto Rico. We got some people from Europe. We got some people from South America. Like it's some people from Canada too. Like it's a very diverse population that we have here. And to start off the curriculum, it's a very one size fits all. Like you start off with the basic sciences, but once you get through that, you can start to deviate off the path. You can start taking elective classes for what you truly are passionate about. There are also majors that you can tack on with the chiropractic program. There's positive psychology, there's a nutrition major, there's a sports major. It's really cool. You can really make your education at Life kind of unique to yourself and what you want to practice and how you want to see patients when you get out of school.
Hmm. Can you talk about your own personal journey, like what you became attracted to once you got to Life, and maybe some of the directions that you've gone since you've been there?
Yeah, absolutely. Having that playing sports, being an athlete, I came into school thinking that's what the population I wanted to help. I thought I wanted to go back and work with my old undergrad team, kind of like give my services to them, or maybe work with a professional team. Just because athletes get beat up, they need work, they need a little bit of healing to go into their lives to be able to perform better. But coming to campus and going to like different clubs and seeing different people's perspectives, that's kind of shifted to more of a family mindset, more towards a pediatric, prenatal, postpartum mindset. Because in reality, you can't have healthy athletes if you don't have healthy babies.
Mhm.
So going to clubs like ICPA and the Pediatric Experience, those have kind of shifted my mentality to helping the younger population, helping them, grow out, because birth really is a major trauma, and the way that they pull babies out when they're given birth, like there's a lot of force being put into their nervous system, and being able to be there for them to kind of relieve that tension on their nervous system when they're first born is going to be huge and impact their lives tremendously. And
Mm.
just kind of seeing videos and hearing explanations and being trained a little bit, it's shifted my mentality into more of that kind of passion.
Okay. So you started with a passion for sports because that's what you knew, that's what your experience was, and you've moved towards family practice, being able to care for kids, babies, pregnant moms. Can you kind of give a little bit of a brief overview of what the pediatric experience is or what the ICPA is?
Yeah, it's a club and it's a program. So the Pediatric Experience just became a certification program on Life University's campus. So it's just a further education to know how to treat and handle pregnant moms and postpartum moms and babies when they come into your office, and it kind of helps you create a niche and your care when it comes to those kinds of populations. And the ICPA specifically has a whole bunch of different programs, like weekend seminars, to become certified in different techniques and different aspects of pediatric care.
Hmm. All right, let's keep it moving. So that's one aspect of your focus. Most chiropractic students I know are going in many different directions, have many different interests, and also many different types of experiences. Can you rattle off just some of the seminars that you've attended and some of the ones that you've attended more than one time?
hmm that's the cool thing about being at Life is it's kind of like a hub for chiropractic. So all the seminars do come here. I've been to KTC, MLS, Centropy, BGI, Tulski Tonal, Core and Specific Technique, Extremity Evolution, Advanced Muscle Palpation, MC2. And then at Atlanta, they have Dynamic Essentials, which was founded by Sid Williams, and a bunch of Dr. Glowacki's seminars I've been to as well. And
Okay.
I feel like the most beneficial one was the last one that I just did, which was MC2, just because it was a really cool blend of how to mix tonal adjustments and osseous adjustments together to kind of help find the primary subluxations on patients and treat them as best as you possibly can.
Hmm. Can you unpack that a little bit deeper? Can we go deeper into like what is an osseous adjustment? What is a tonal adjustment? And how can you blend them now in your mind, having gone to this seminar?
Absolutely. So an osseous adjustment is when the chiropractor puts like a physical force into your body, and that's when you might hear those cracks and pops, which are just cavitations. Um, so it's a little bit more powerful. It's a little bit more forceful, and people definitely need it. But then there's the tonal adjustment, which is a lighter approach. So you can either do that with an instrument like a integrator or an activator, or you could do that with focused intent. That's Tulski Tonal's mindset. Is focused intent is a force. And it's in a much lighter approach to adjusting, and it affects the nervous system on a little bit more of a deeper level than the osseous adjustments. And people's bodies and people's systems adapt and respond to different kinds of adjustments at different points in their lives. And having kind of that blend is a really cool way to approach everybody. So you can like kind of pick which one you want to use when their body presents with it. And MC2 is a very tonal analysis, but like I said, like if you feel like they need an osseous adjustment, then you're more than welcome to just do an osseous adjustment where they feel the tonal spot. So it's a cool blend between the two.
Okay, and who's that one taught by? And can you kind of reflect on their character, their teaching, and maybe just one or two things that you took away from them this weekend?
Absolutely. It's taught by Dr. Steve Hoffman. He's no longer in practice, but the first half of the seminar he was diving into the philosophy and the 33 principles and how you need to hold on to the chiropractic principles to be able to treat somebody in the proper mindset and to the best of your ability. And that was one of the coolest things is being able to take like those principles, those philosophies, those mindsets into an adjustment. And it's not just rack 'em and crack 'em kind of ideology. It's helping the nervous system release and allowing somebody to function at their full potential.
Hmm. And when you first decided you were going to go become a chiropractor, did you have any idea that these are the types of things you would be learning? These are the types of things that you'd be getting inspired by, and molding yourself into a person that is thinking this way and practicing the art this way? And like, can you kind of just talk about how big the learning curve has been for you, or the unlearning curve?
Learning curve has been big. Surprisingly, I've been adjusted by tonal chiropractor for a majority of my life, and I didn't really realize that until I got to school. And then watching like the TikTok videos and the YouTube videos of people, making all the cavitations and all the noise, it kind of like steered me into that's what I want to do. Like people are getting better, like you can see the relief on their face with that huge noise with an adjustment. It was like that's what I want to do, and that's what you're taught in school, and that is tremendous. But like being a little bit farther in the curriculum, I've noticed that I've been like deviating and kind of straying more towards the tonal aspect of it, and I love both. I love both, and it was really cool to be able to like marry the two of them together with an analysis and a seminar.
Hmm. Hmm. And yeah, I was talking with somebody yesterday about how shallow people's understanding of chiropractic is because of those loud pop and crack videos. There's no context being built. They don't even slip in like, what the intent is here, or what the goal of this is happening. They're using pretty women, they're using famous celebrities and athletes to really, I guess, uh, this might sound crude, but almost portray like soft porn, where you got all these sounds that sound good, but don't actually help people recognize like the depth of what is happening there, and the training that it took for that individual to get good at that. Because I imagine now you've got people out there that watch the video and then are trying to do it on each other. But this is a bit of a tangent, but I think it's relevant to our college and high school students to just kind of recognize how deep you have to go with your training to be able to deliver a clear, specific, scientific chiropractic adjustment. Can you talk about how much training you've done you're in 11th quarter, so you're pretty much at the end of the program, how
Mhm.
much training you've done in this short period of time?
I mean, yeah, the program's 3.5 years, and it's that way for a reason. The first year is all basic sciences to be able to understand and not diagnose, but be able to recognize when something's not going right in somebody's body. And then the second year is learning how to palpate properly, how to do motion into or put motion into the spinal cord to be able to find fixations and subluxations, and then learning how to correct them and kind of release it. So it's very specific. Like, you know exactly what you're looking for. You know, you're trained to look for exactly the correct spot that's causing the subluxation that's interfering with the nerves. And that's another thing that, because I do have some angst when I watch those videos. Like, it doesn't make me feel good because it just looks like they're racking them and just making the noise. So like they're not explaining the nervous systems or the neurons that are like leaving and which organs that they're affecting, and like all the muscles, also all the musculature, and how it's just a powerful profession. And I feel like the videos are muddying the effect that we have on people, and it's kind of creating it to be kind of basic.
I use the analogy of soft porn because it's something that is people are addicted to. They wake up, they turn on their TikTok, and they want to see chiropractic adjustment videos,
Yeah.
just like people wake up and they want to watch porn. It's just, I'm just keeping it real. It's getting to that level where people are coming to my office and they're like, "Oh, I've been watching chiropractic videos the last couple years. Like, I'm addicted to them." So I'm just curious from you, what we need to do as a profession to move the needle to improve the quality of maybe student experience, and also to improve the message that is reaching the people, the general population out in the world.
I mean, when it comes to those videos, I think the biggest thing that we should start stepping forward is just a little bit more of education when it comes to the adjustment. Not just the video of somebody adjusting somebody, but like a little bit of an education. Be like, this is why I'm doing this. This is the nerves that it's affecting, and explain the power behind it. And on top of that, I just feel like we need more docs out there on social media doing videos, doing explanations, explaining the power behind adjustments, how it can affect adults, how it can affect babies, how it can affect pregnant moms, how it can affect, anybody anywhere with different conditions and different symptoms.
hmm And at 11th quarter, like, what are you most passionate about right now? Like, what's your experience like on maybe a week to week basis, but also like, where's your focus at?
Right now, my focus is on boards. So I got part 2 and part 3 coming up, and that's other than schoolwork, other than being in the clinic and being able to adjust the patients that are coming in and seeing me. My spare time is being put on boards, studying for those part 1, part 2, part 3 sections. And when I don't have time, I've been diving into the Pediatric Experience videos to
Mhm.
kind of further my education in the pediatric realm.
What are some topics in those pediatric experience videos that you've gone through recently? What's something you learned recently, or something specific, like a little more detailed of some of the topics?
I'm still like in the very beginning of the videos, but they're starting to talk about like how to communicate properly with moms, especially about like why their babies are colicky, why their babies are not holding in their urine, why their babies are not pooping, like little things like that. And it's really eye opening because it's just a simple explanation, but until it's told to you and until it's explained to you as like the chiropractor, as the patient, like you don't really think to communicate it in that way.
hmm And do you practice these communication, I'll call them scripts or frameworks, templates? Do you practice those with fellow students, or is it something that you are just kind of internalizing and you're going to practice as you start to see people in the clinic or as you start to go out into the real world?
I should be practicing it more than I am, but going to the Pediatric Experience Club, which is once a week, we have a little bit of time with the other people that are diving into the program to work on the communication, to work on our mission statements and our visions, and like how we want to run and communicate with patients when we're out in practice.
Is there any other clubs you're actively going to on a weekly basis?
As of right now, the only other club that I'm a part of is the Level Up Mentorship Club, which I'm the vice president of.
Okay. Can you unpack what that club does, where the focus is for that, and what level up mentorship even is?
Yeah, it's run by Dr. Brad Glowacki. He created a mentorship program for doctors out in the field to be able to run a successful practice, to be able to communicate chiropractic properly, and to be able to, have the freedom to make as much money as you need and go on vacation and not be tied down to your office because you're so successful that you you have associates to kind of be there and take on the load. It's a really cool program, and a lot of the docs in the program are really successful. And in club, we talk about communication, we talk about philosophy, and we talk about business of chiropractic. This
Mhm.
is the only the second quarter that we're on campus. It's brand new. So we're diving through videos that Dr. Glow and his associates have put together to kind of explain philosophy and like how to communicate properly with patients and how to stay in agreement with them when they come in watching the videos. Be like, I want to be cracked right here. Be like, that's great. Like let me explain to you what that actually does instead of just being like, I want to be cracked. It's like, no, let me explain the neurology. Let me explain why that's actually helping you. And it's a really cool club to be able to go to.
Can you talk a little bit about the business of chiropractic as you just described it? It can look many different ways, but in those contexts that you're mentioning, whether it's through the pediatric experience or through Level Up Mentorship, maybe just stay focused on Level Up Mentorship. How do they contextualize the running of a business, the mindset of a chiropractor who's in business?
Um, your business has to be specified and specific for your ideal patient. So like a pediatric office be run different than somebody who wants to do with like personal injury cases or somebody who wants to work with athletes. It's going to be different for every single population. But I think the major thing, especially when opening up, if you want to open up right out of school, or even if you want to associate first and then open up, is knowing when to be the doctor and knowing when to be a business person. Because a small bit like running a chiropractic office is being an entrepreneur, is being a small business owner, and you have to know when to wear which hat. I've been told by several doctors this is not specifically a level up thing, but like when you open up, you want to hire a CA, so you don't really have to always wear the entrepreneurial hat. Like you can just be the doctor when you're in the office, and when hours are open, you can be the entrepreneur, you can be the small business person, you can worry about the money, you can worry about the rent, you can worry about everything else that comes with it. But when you're in the office, you're the doctor. That's all you need to be at that time.
hmm Can you specify how you plan to open up right out of school? Like how you plan to fund it, or what your plan or strategy is to transition into the real world? Do you have any clarity on that? Are you still crystallizing that vision? Obviously, you are. And what are some options that you have in your mind?
Right now, we're my girlfriend and we're planning on opening up our business together. So we're going to right now we're focusing on peaking and where we want to peak, which is looking like it's going to be Minneapolis with two amazing docs who are both incredibly successful when it comes to business. So our plan is to take those 6 months in their office, learn as much as we can, and then start to figure out where we want to move, where we want to open up, start shaking hands, kissing babies, making connections with the population so they know who we are, so they see our face, and
Mhm.
then find a place to open. We're going to get a business loan from a bank. We might get some loans from some family members who are willing to invest. And yeah, we're working on our business plan right now. We're working on our vision and mission statement. We're working on our core values, and we're working on like how to, you know, furnish and pay for everything pretty much, and how much we actually need and what the budget's going to look like.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm happy to hear you're starting your own practice right out of school. Can you kind of just give some reflection on how many people in your cohort, or even people that were a little bit ahead of you, percentage wise? Obviously, it's a guesstimate, are planning to open their own practice versus go and associate?
I would say maybe about 30% are planning on opening up. That's also just a rough estimate. It seems like in school, it's the idea of associating is pushed. Just it is a great idea. Like you get to learn by some of the greatest docs. If you want to, when you find like an associateship who's willing to take you on and hire you, you get to spend two years like working in the office, learning, absorbing, practicing your adjusting skills, practicing how to run a business. And so when you get to the point where you're no longer an associate, you can open up. You have all the knowledge, you have all the information, you know what to do. Um, in my mind and in Sydney's mind, you're going to make mistakes no matter what, whether you associate or not. And we were thinking that we might as well just make those mistakes opening up, because making mistakes on your own is a great way to learn. And then you just kind of like deviate path and you correct and you just keep going. So
Mhm.
instead of making money and like kind of waiting to open up our dream practice, we're just going to jump right out of the gate and do it.
Awesome, awesome. And do you have any idea on which city you want to get to yet, or do you have like a top two or top three places that you know you want to live?
Our top two places are suburbs of Minneapolis and suburbs of Philadelphia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I hope you go to Philly. That's where I went to school at Temple and in the North Philadelphia, and I have a lot of family members in the suburbs. But cool. What I guess, like, what advice would you give to somebody who is in pre-Chiro to start preparing themselves for chiropractic school, given like everything that you've seen, specific resources that you would direct them to start to dip their minds into chiropractic? Because just to kind of share with you a little bit of what I'm hoping is going to happen in the future with podcasts and conversations like this is that we're going to be able to isolate some of the messages that you've shared and then prepare students for chiropractic school with your advice as an 11th quarter, or students at other schools that don't have the abundance of resources that they have access to can listen to you at a school like Life U, and see what you're doing, and maybe they go to another school that they're not getting the same exposures that you're getting, so they can still prepare themselves and they can still hear what you're up to and kind of figure it out. But with the pre-Chiro, if we could just rattle off, or if you could kind of just give me some rapid fire answers to some of these questions I have. So pre-Chiro starts with the foundation of chiropractic, like building your foundations. How did you build your foundations, or what resources or information would you recommend students go to learn the basic fundamentals of chiropractic?
I think to start off, just getting to somebody's office and ask them the questions, ask the doctors the questions, and kind of see where their mind's at and see how they answer them, because that's the easiest way to learn is to see it in action. Um, Advice that I was given by one of my old chiropractors was to just start studying anatomy, start knowing what the body looks like, knowing the muscles, knowing the insertion and origin points. There's a bunch of different like 3D apps on your phone to be able to pinpoint different muscles on the body and like where they insert and where their origin is and the or the movement that they have. And I know that was a huge help when I was going through musculoskeletal anatomy in school. So if you come into the program with that knowledge, like you're already going to be leaps and bounds ahead of your cohorts. And another thing is, if you can get your hand on a green book, start learning the philosophy, start understanding why chiropractic is the way that it is, understand why it was developed and what the meaning behind an adjustment actually is. And they're not hard to find. Like there's websites online, you can find PDFs online. But yeah, if you start understanding the philosophy, it'll make chiropractic make a lot more sense.
Have you come across any specific green books, or any of the blue books, or anything specific that you're just like, wow, like they put it so well. It's so easy to understand. It's easy to kind of work through. Is there any specific resources out there? Doesn't have to be a green book or a blue
Yeah.
book. It could be anything. I'm just curious.
I was gonna say one of the basic like fundamental books is the chiropractic textbook, but that's not easy to read through just because it's old English. It's very wordy. It's very philosophical. But it's one of the it's one of the books that was chiropractic was taught off of for a long time. So if you can get your hands on that, that would be a great resource. But on Amazon, there's a book called 33, and that just runs through the different principles in a very simple and modern way, and it's from different chiropractors throughout our lifetime actually now that have helped put together different passages to kind of explain the different 33 principles.
Thank you for that. And then moving on to the second level, skill sets. What are some fundamental skills that students can work on before they even get to chiropractic school that will help them when they are in chiropractic school?
An easy way to start working on your palpation skills now, if you are going to chiropractic school and you're not there yet, is when you're just studying for any of your test or an undergrad, just take a piece of hair and put it underneath a piece of paper and start palpating and start trying to feel where that hair is. And as you feel it through one piece of paper, add another, and then add another, and then add another, and then you'll start to sense that you can feel like a little piece of hair through maybe like 20 pieces of paper, just because your palpation skills have been refined to that point. And that'll also help you a lot going through school.
hmm And as far as going to a chiropractor, you've said it multiple times on this conversation that you just recommend people get to offices. What are some of the things they should key in on once they go to an office, observing the chiropractor, but also asking questions to the chiropractor?
I feel like a very good question to ask the chiropractor is why they practice the technique that they do. And every doctor has different reasons, and they all practice different techniques, and they all work. That's the beauty of it. They all work, but each doctor picks a technique that works best for them. And then they have other like ones that they don't use too often in their toolbox just to pull out for a different patient that needs it. But that's a big question: is why do they pick the technique that they use now?
Hmm. And as far as starting your own pre-Chiro club, you were recently involved in starting the Level Up Mentorship Club on your campus. What are some things that you have to do to establish a club in a community that may be unfamiliar with this club and start to attract members in? Because I'm encouraging pre-Chiro students to start their own pre-Chiro club on their college campus. Can you kind of just speak to the process that one has to go through to establish something and then also build it?
I think the big thing is just getting the word out. Like other than going through your school and being able to create the club, because there's a bunch of hoops that you have to jump through the school to be able to establish a club on campus. But the important thing is getting the word out to the student body to be able to have them come and understand and be excited about the material that you're going to be talking about at a pre-Chiro club. So
Mhm.
that'll also help you get your practice in communication, being able to speak chiropractic to people who don't know what chiropractic is, and create the excitement and the intrigue to have them come to the club. So social media posts, TikTok reels, Instagram reels, all of those stuff to just kind of like get the word out. Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest thing is you just have to create the interest in the population because they don't have to know, they don't have to understand all of it. They just have the little spark of interest to be able to come, and then you can explain why and how chiropractic is amazing.
Hmm. And then, as far as like independent study capstone projects, what are some of the creative things that you've seen students have done to really express chiropractic in their own unique way? Or what are some potential avenues that you believe students can go in down the research pathway and like do some research for themselves that will enrich their pre-Chiro experience so that when they get to chiropractic school, they had spent maybe 3 months on a project that was meaningful or applicable?
I mean, there's a lot of research out there right now on chiropractic in certain conditions. CBP with Dr. Deed Harrison, he's been just pumping out a whole bunch of different informations and research articles on how structure can affect the nervous system, and that's a really cool thing because we learn in like basic science in undergrad that structure equals function. So it's a crazy concept to think that the structure of your spine can equal the function of your body. Um, so yeah, that's one. There's a bunch of resources out there. It used to be an issue, and it's a common argument when people say that chiropractic isn't scientifically found is that there's no research on it, and there's a ton of research out there. You just have to look for it. And there's different databases, and the main one is the Chiropractic Literature Index, and that is just filled of different chiropractic material and research articles and peer reviewed articles.
Hmm. What are some things that you want to do in this next semester and a half while you're at school? Like, what is your intention? You're involved with the fraternity, you had told me.
Mhm.
Can you talk about kind of the responsibility that you take on when you join the fraternity, and also maybe some accountability? And also, if there's any intentions that you have in this last couple of months that you have at school.
The fraternity is Delta Sigma Chi. It stands for Doctors of Straight Chiropractic. And if you look back in history, all the big names like BJ, Sid Williams, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Reaver too, a bunch of the big names that created techniques that are that are well known. They have been a part of the fraternity, and our mission is to defend the philosophy and the principles of chiropractic and kind of keep them alive throughout the profession. And through that, just our mission right now on campus is to be able to bring philosophy clubs, bring the understanding of why we do what we do to campus. And we started a Tulski Tonal Club, which is huge on philosophy, and we've started a philosophy club on campus. And then other than that, we're doing Monday or Friday morning philosophy with coffee just at the house, and we're inviting all the students to come. And that's part of the legacy that we're leaving, is just kind of to bring back the importance of the philosophy.
Hmm. What kinds of prompts do you explore together when you're at the house on a Friday morning philosophy? Like, what's the structure of those meetings, and kind of what are, do you remember what your, well, today's Friday. What do you think is going to take place, or has it already taken place?
We actually didn't meet this Friday, but normally we go through the chiropractic textbook and we just read a passage. We've been not required, but like the brothers have been reading like 10 pages a week kind of thing, just kind of like slowly digest the information. And then we just sit there and we discuss what we read. And it's awesome having like those philosophical talks in the morning with coffee and just a bunch of people that you can jive with and have a good conversation with.
Mhm. Not that chiropractic fraternities are for everybody, but the practices that are encouraged and instilled within that chiropractic fraternity, if those trickled out and were practiced by every student on campus, how do you think that would shift the student culture in chiropractic?
I think it would shift the mindset of what chiropractic truly is. Because going into school, I feel like a lot of people come in there because they know that chiropractors make a lot of money. They know they see the videos. That's all they think about it. So if we were able to get the word out about the philosophy and the true meaning behind what chiropractic really is early on in the profession or early on in the program, it'll make school a little bit more easy to understand and go through and like reason why you're learning all the basic sciences, reason why you're learning, anatomy, physiology, biochem, all that stuff. It adds a why behind it.
Is it fair to say that you, having had this type of experience of getting into the fraternity and staying connected to some of these practices that are beyond the curriculum, have kept you adaptable, or more adaptable to the stresses of boards, as you mentioned, and classes that might just be really challenging or really stressful for whatever reason? Has that really helped you?
Yeah, it has. It's like I said, philosophy is all about knowing your why. And when you go through a hard time, when you go through a tough class, when you're struggling studying, like if you know why you're doing something and what the reason behind your actions are, like it helps you get through those tough times. It helps you put your head down and just plow through it, study the material, get through the test, get through that hard exam. Like it's if you know your why, you can really do whatever you want, even if it's really tough.
Not to kind of put that right back to you, but can you loosely describe your why, or the thing that you lean on, or some strategies that you've developed within yourself to move through these challenging times?
hmm Your why will always change. That's the cool thing about it. And right now, being in clinic, being able to do adjustments. My why is to bring awareness to those who are unaware and allow people to like gain gratitude for their bodies. Because we
Mhm.
live in a world where we are hunched over all the time. We have poor posture. We don't understand where our body is in space and time. And an adjustment allows your body to kind of like wake back up, your neurology to wake back up. And I want to be able to allow people to be more gracious for their bodies and treat it with more health and health and love.
Mhm. Do you, after having this conversation with me, do you have any particular like questions about maybe my intentions, or anything that I was asking you about that you didn't quite understand why I was asking you about it? Or has this conversation been like pretty on purpose? I'm just curious because your time is so valuable right now. We're 45 minutes into a conversation. Like, how do you measure the value of how your time is spent these days?
Um, it's hard with classes and all that stuff because you get out of classes, you're in there from 7 to 5 every single day, and then you get out and you just want to kind of relax and spend time to yourself, which is awesome. You definitely need to take your own personal time. But for the students that are coming into school, I would definitely recommend you get a calendar, like a written calendar, and write down every single time that you have something to do, like classes, like schedule time to study, schedule time to watch Netflix, schedule time to go to a coffee shop, like schedule your time, and that'll help you. That'll alleviate a little bit of alleviate some of the stress that comes with the unknown of like what you have to do, when you have to do it, when the due dates are.
Mm.
Yeah. And when it comes to a question for you, I know you told me like why, your purpose behind this, but what got you started on this podcast?
Well, I was a college athlete. When I was a senior in the kinesiology program at my school, I didn't know if I would have a job waiting for me after school because I had done all the prerequisites to go to grad school, but I didn't know which grad school I wanted to go to or what profession I wanted to choose. So I started studying massage therapy. When I was in high school, I was working at the YMCA as a personal trainer, and I lifted weights throughout college. And so, being a multi sport athlete, personal training, massage, I had an interest in nutrition. Obviously, if you're into all that stuff, I never considered chiropractic. And I got to my last semester in undergrad. I had been to a chiropractor once in undergrad when I got into a car accident. I saw him for like 6 visits. It was actually a really good experience, but it didn't ever register that this was the path, right, for me. And I get to my last semester, 67 students in my undergrad thesis, independent study project program class, and 64 of them are all trying to go to physical therapy school. I'm one of the 3 that's undecided. I went and investigated optometry, physician's assistant. I volunteer at a hospital. I'm looking at chiropractic. And I decided on physician's assistant was going to be the path because they had better hours. I thought they had better hours than all the other professions. And that turned out to be something that I had to face once I arrived at the interview, and they told me you're still not as competitive as an applicant as you could be. So I was frustrated. I was trying to figure out, what I'm going to do. I'm already done with massage program. I walk down the street. I go into this chiropractor's office. It's one of the more vitalistic types of experiences that you have in a chiropractic office where, like you said, there's babies, there's families, there's joy, there's a high energy. And I ended up working with that chiropractor for 6 months. And I still chose the wrong school. I went to a school based on geographic location. After 2 semesters of like on the weekends going out and going to seminars and flying places, because one of my fellow students at that school had already been through chiropractic school in Brazil, but she wanted to practice in the States. So she was going through it all over again. Talk about a
Yeah.
lot of drive. And she exposed me to other sides of the coin. And I ended up transferring with less than a week's notice after my second semester finals, came to a different school on the opposite side of the spectrum, and was amazed at how much resources and what you've described in this interview was available to me. And I said, why wasn't I exposed to any of this at the other school? Like, how is that possible that the school experience could be that different? And so I just had this real like awakening that there's a genuine problem that needs to be addressed with chiropractic education, offering completely different messages, completely different experiences to students based on which school they went to. And so I began like running up to people on their college campus tour and explaining to them that the best part of this school was the amount of resources that you had access to, and that this wasn't available at other schools, that they shouldn't choose based on geographic location. And this is like, I'm in my 3rd semester of school now. I lost a lot of credits. I had to, I lost thousands of dollars. But I wouldn't change it for the world because it gave me a purpose, which was to open the eyes of chiropractic students as to like this that you think chiropractic is actually much bigger than that. And I was also a seminar junkie like you, so I was dedicated to going to as many different outside extracurricular seminars as I could. And it just kept filling me up and getting me more and more full of chiropractic. And I did things as a student. I started this club called Chiro Movement, which was supposed to be a movement for students to raise awareness to other students of what was available, that other students had no idea. So to make other students better potential chiropractors. And that energy carried on right up to clinic, where I had to let go of that project because it was just too much with boards and clinic, kind of where you're at, maybe a little bit earlier than where you're at. And never lost sight of this project, but as you know, your priorities change, and I had to start my own practice out of school, and I wanted to travel, and I did a number of service trips while in school by myself with fellow friends that were chiropractors, because we just had that confidence in where we were at with things. And I just feel like, high level bars, like high level chiropractic is in me. And if I can just trickle a little bit of that out into the pre-chiro potential, like that students have to really make an impact on their college campuses, you get to a point where you're at right now, and you're like reflecting on how every experience that you have, whether it's at the coffee shop talking to somebody, whether it's at a seminar or in a class, relates back to you becoming a better chiropractor, or
Mhm.
relates back to chiropractic, so that you can figure out a way to connect the message of chiropractic to that person in that unique situation, or to an individual who just had or you just had an experience, and you're like, other people are having this experience. How could they have this experience differently if they thought of it through the chiropractic lens? So for the last like 9 years in practice, 10 years almost, I've just always been journaling. How can a student experience chiropractic education better? How could a pre-chiro student have their experience be better? How could a middle school or an elementary school student have a better experience through the lens of chiropractic? And so, the vision is very big. If we start, like, a new chiropractic school just sprouted up this year in Scotland. Last year there was a new one that sprouted up in Australia, and it's like, how do we rebrand the idea of chiropractic so that it's not just for neck pain and back pain, and it's not just as a fallback option, a secondary choice, but it's the primary choice. All of those different reasons, like there's no chiropractors in health centers on college campuses. What would it look like if pre-chiro clubs were able to motivate administrators to bring chiropractors onto their campus, because we were able to measure through research that by having a pre-chiro club, it enhanced the well-being and overall potential of the student body and the general campus body to express life and health better, because we were going dorm to dorm and asking pre-chiro students to do lifestyle questionnaires. And then we were running campaigns where we were like, hey, get adjusted. We reframe the freshman 15 to be like the pre-chiro 15, where it's like 15 new lifestyle choices, kind of just like infusing campuses that are in undergrad who have educated students that are super unhealthy in a very toxic environment with our resources. Like, just imagine how we would really shift the brand in the eyes of these educated students that are going to become engineers and lawyers, that they're like, oh, I just go get adjusted to get over the drinking I had the night before, or I just go get adjusted to get focused for my test. All of these different things can be recontextualized in the eyes of these undergrad students. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
anyway, that was a ramble of all of it culminating to, like, hey, as a profession, I've been told that the first 100 years was all about solidifying and really rooting chiropractic in what it is, and keeping it alive long enough so that the general public can start to wake up to it. But the second 100 years, you and I's lifetime, is really all about connecting the general public to the profession and healing that divide. And in my opinion, the primary subluxation in the profession is there's no shared experience amongst incoming chiropractic students. There's no shared experience amongst graduating chiropractors, and there's no shared experience amongst practicing chiropractors. And that all starts from like the head organizations, the schools, the seminars, all really being readily available as a resource and a support system that we're building by having these types of conversations.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
That was like a deep download, but you asked, and I know that you're used to hearing people go deep with things. So I kind of
Mhm.
wanted to give you the full framework just because you're in 11th quarter. Do you have any reflections back to me on like anything that I said that sticks out to you, or that kind of like put a light bulb on in your mind? Because there was a number of things I touched on there.
I just wish I had someone with your passion doing something like you're doing when I was an undergrad. It's pretty much it, because it would have made my decision to come to chiropractic school, which I'm super thankful that I'm here, but it would have made that decision a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Mhm. And maybe it's not even a good thing that it makes it easier and quicker for people. I actually, people don't make logical, rational buying decisions, right? They make it off of emotion. And sometimes people have to like choose something that they choose it for the wrong reasons, and then they have to figure out why they chose it. And in that struggle, that beautiful struggle, they actually get stronger, and they actually get like more solid. So I'm hoping not to make it easy for people, but I'm hoping to make it more challenging and also to differentiate our profession, right? The MCAT, I'm right now trying to do some research and figure out how many questions are on the MCAT, because I want students in pre-Chiro to answer that many questions throughout the program. So
Mm.
it's like you're going to answer just as many questions as you answer in the MCAT, but you're going to do it day by day, piece by piece, experience by experience. You're going to reflect on experiences. You're going to prepare for experiences. You're going to go in with clear intentions on why you're going to offices and what you want to focus on when you go to the office. Is it the communication? Is it the adjustment? Is it the education that the office offers their patient body? Is it the back end business side? Like, I want you to know all the aspects of a chiropractic practice. So when you get to chiropractic school and on freshman day, year one, you're joining these clubs that you're facilitating. It's not brand new to you. It's something that you're familiar with, that you can contribute to, that you can actually help build. Because if we're being really real, our profession has been on the defense for years. And as students, it always seems like you just don't have enough time. You don't have enough energy. There's not enough robust support framework for your level up mentorship to reach its potential for the student body, or any of the other things that you've been involved with. So that's kind of where I'm at with just trying to help give people more capacity, capacity building for our profession and for our students.